spend a few minutes talking about how TNOA came into being. When I spent most of my law enforcement career in California. I was very active in the California Narcotic Officers Association. I'm a life member. I came over to accept a teaching position at Sam Houston State University in 1969. And the first thing I did when I got there was to inquire about the Texas Narcotic Officers Association. And I was told there was no such thing. So I went to Dr. Killinger, who was the head of the department. And I think he needs a lot of credit. I said, Dr. Killinger, I'd like to form the Texas Narcotic Officers Association. So go right ahead. I said, wait, not so fast. I need to call police agencies and sheriff's departments all over the state. Will you let me make the phone calls on our budget? And he says, yes. I says, now I want to call an organizing meeting. Can you do lunch for all of us? He said, sure. So anyway, Dr. Killinger deserves a lot of credit that he's never gotten. I started making phone calls. And about the third or fourth call I made, I ran into a roadblock. It was Captain Jack Renoy from the Houston Police Department, head of narcotics. And when I suggested to him to form a TNOA, he got all excited. He said, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean we can't do that? He said, we can't do that unless DPS agrees. And I said to myself, hell, we don't need DPS to agree. And I said, okay. So I got on a horn, called Wilson Spear, who was the longtime director of DPS, mentioned it to him, and he got all excited, and he says, look, he says, stay by the phone. I'll have Elmer Terrell call you. He's head of my narcotics division. So 10 minutes later, here I get a call from Terrell. Elmer says to me, hey, it's a great idea. We should have done this before. So that's how we got started. We had our organizing meeting at St. Houston. We had a luncheon on the college. And from then on, here we are. I might say this, I think Corky needs a big hand because there's a lot of work goes into putting this together. I know that I had his job for the first 2 or 3 years. Anyway, I think Corky deserves a big hand. Also want to thank Trey Rust. He's a retired TABC lieutenant over the table there, I think. He brought me here. Woo! I've known Trey since he was in high school. But I especially want to thank him because he reminded me earlier to zip my fly off. Anyway, you know how TNOA was founded, and I'm very happy to have had a small part in it. Now I want to talk to you about war. Not the war that's being fought in the Middle East or in Ukraine, but about the war that cops are fighting. There's 2 wars. One war is the war on cops that was started by Barack Obama. When he accused the police of systemic racism. Well, let me tell you this, all you racists. racist. We weren't bigoted. We kicked the shit out of everybody. Those were the good old days. The other war is the war on drugs that all of you are engaged in. Let me tell you how this came about. Number one, prior to the Vietnam War, we didn't have much of a drug problem in the United States. You know why? Because we threw the drug users in the jail and into prison. Nobody gave a damn. You know why? Because the poor bastards were all black or Mexican. Then along comes the Vietnam War with all the protesters, young people that didn't want to go into the service. And many of them drifted over to the Haight-Ashbury district in San Francisco, where drugs were plentiful. Then all of a sudden, the United States found itself with a lot of drug users that weren't just Mexicans and blacks. They were the sons and daughters of our most prominent families. They were the sons and daughters of politicians. They were the sons and daughters of business people. They were the sons and daughters of wealthy people. And we sure don't want to throw those in jail. And so we've gone from being hard on drugs, which kept us in a manageable position, to being soft on drugs, which leaves us in a mess we're in today. I would say that you've had a class, or will have a class, on the Mexican drug cartels. Well, let me tell you something about the Mexican drug cartels that they didn't tell you in that class. We're the ones that created it. We created the drug cartels with our insatiable hunger for drugs. And so now you have, I don't know how many drug cartels, but the two most powerful ones are the TNOA cartel and the Jalisco New Generation, which I think is the most powerful of the two and the most powerful of all the drug cartels. They have their own army. I've seen pictures of their soldiers in their armored cars, and they've given the Mexican army a good go for it. Well, anyway, you wouldn't have those drug cartels if there wasn't such a big demand from the United States. Now, people are going to tell you that we're losing the war on drugs, and I say bullshit. And there's another thing they're going to tell you is that we're wasting billions of dollars fighting the war on drugs. And I say to them, we're also spending billions of dollars treating drug addicts and overdoses. And I might say this, that Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, they don't have this drug problem, especially not in the Philippines, where if you use drugs, your ass is going to jail if they don't kill you. And they're so harsh on drugs that President Obama condemned them when he did that. Rodrigo Duterte, who was president of the Philippines at that time, called President Obama a son of a bitch. And President Obama was upset and canceled a scheduled visit to the Philippines, over which I'm sure Rod lost a lot of sleep. But those countries are not going soft on drugs. And they put their drug users in jail. And I'm not saying that we ought to put a marijuana smoker in prison. Of course not. Put 30 days in the county jail. I think will make him start smoking funny tobacco. So anyway, if people tell you that we're losing the war on drugs, you tell them, no, we're not. Every day, somewhere in this world, they're making large drug busts. And every large drug bust that's made, the drugs that are taken, seized, are drugs that are not going to be sold on a street corner. So we're not losing the war, we're still in the midst of it, and I'm just sorry that we've gone so easy on the drug use. Anyway, thank you so much for having me.